Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Raid Shadow Legends. And in today's video, we're here to talk about Doom Tower, and we're here to talk about Dark Fae and why this is the most important thing that you could be doing this month here on Doom Tower as you farm the gear that drops, well, I guess the forge materials that drops from Dark Fae, which is for the lethal set. This is literally hands down the best set that you can farm from Doom Tower ever. And this comes around for 1 month every 3 months. So in today's video, I want to break the boss down for those of you that are still having troubles on this. Talk about why I choose the champions that I do in order to clear this and how to set yourself up for success for an auto. Now, whether or not you're running this on hard or whether you're farming this on normal, it is still the best set in the game because just to go, to the forge set really quick for that, and why you want this, of course, is because it's essentially a better version of Savage. Now, you can see right here with a 4-piece set that you do get crit rate 10% and 25% ignore defense. Now, that 10% crit is going to go a long way at getting some of your characters crit capped so that you could use, say, a crit damage glove piece rather than, some people in the early and mid game are still using crit rate gloves in order to get themselves up to 100%. So lethal is one of the best DPS sets that you can farm from Doom Tower. We're going to talk about exactly how you're going to be able to do that. Now, before we get started with the rest of the video, of course, I do want to remind people that if you haven't started playing Raid yet or make a new alt account, use the QR code in the top right hand of the screen to get King Galkabar absolutely free, and also Venomage, Tagor, and Farrakhan the Fat at accounts level 10, 20, and 30. Don't forget about your pal Pelops the Victor. You can use the promo code SUPERVICTORY within the first 48 hours of a brand new account to get him as well. Now, this is my save squad that I have for auto for Dark Fae. Now, ignore the Hecaton because I'm not saying that go out and get Hecaton and it'll make Dark Fae that much easier. But I want to break down each of the slots and talk about why I have them and what role that they play in this. Okay, so first of all, who is Dark Fae and what is Dark Fae? I guess I could just run my first, but before we break it down, I should have put my gear on. This is the thing. So I move my gear sets around like all the time, and I need to keep it on one character. But I think the rest of them should all have gear. So I'm just gonna run it one time just to show you how this works. Obviously, Dark Fae is known for stealing the characters on your team. That is really important to note. You can see how I have my auto set up here anyways, right? I'm not using my big skills. This is important as you do the wave clearing early on. You want to make sure that you ignore using your big skills as much as possible, or at least things that you don't necessarily need for the boss, right? And so that's why I have it set up a certain way that I have basically Tholen, in this case, has an AoE A1. He's the one chopping everyone down. Now, when we get to the boss, if I could pause this, let's stop it from auto. So right here, she steals all of your characters and makes replica clones. And this is important to note. They have the exact same stats depending on what gear that you're running, and the turn order is going to be really important. So right off the bat here, I have my Esther Dreamsong, who is my support character, right? And the good thing to note is that your characters always go first. So they steal your stats, but as far as the speed, you always win the dice roll, so to speak. You have the same speed stat, but your character always goes first. Now, the very first character that you want to go on your side of the field is going to be one of those, what I call speed lead characters. So these are the characters like epics, like Deacon Armstrong, Arbiter, these kinds of characters who have ways of increasing your turn meter of the rest of your team. Why? Because that is going to make the rest of your characters go even faster ahead of your own clones, and perhaps, depending on how your speed is set up with your characters, right, making sure that they definitely go ahead of all the other enemy clones, right? That's important. So for Esther Dreamsong, I do have this increased speed buff, but it also gives me a 15% turn meter, among other things, free extra turn as well. Everyone's buffed up, gets their speed up, gets their attack up, gets their speed meter, turn meter, and then her A2 attacks all enemies, decreases turn meter by 15%. Again, making sure my characters go ahead first. Everyone on my side also places some debuffs as well, making sure I get that in. That's really good. I guess it weak hit on Tholen, so it didn't put the speed down. My second character is my Ugo, who a really great epic for this kind of activity because she puts down a defense down and block buffs AoE. Okay, So we kind of like, we're setting up. Everyone's, oh, actually, you know what? I did so much damage apparently with that I got hit by a counterattack or retaliation, I suppose, for doing too much damage on Tholen. So now at this point, everyone, gotta zoom it a little bit, right? Everyone's basically set up with defense down and weaken at this point. So they're going to get hit really hard. Now, of course, you can use other characters. Yes, I understand I have Hecaton here. The great thing about Hecaton, of course, is if he's got more buffs than other characters, I can go ahead and just use my A1 and it's going to do an AoE attack and it'll actually provoke other characters as well. Turns out at level 40 hard that he just like wipes them all anyways. Why do I have Lorn the Cutter? Well, I mean, if I need it, he has some AoE, does some really good AoE nuking, heal reduction, leech, and that kind of stuff. But he has this, which is going to help us keep Dark Fate controlled. So this has basically, it says decrease turn meter by 100%. However, in reality, because I believe on hard mode, she decreases it by half, right? I forget which one of these it is. I think it's this one, right? All turn meter reduction effects are decreased by 50%. So the best thing that you can do is using characters that do a couple of things, obviously debuffing Dark Fae, but getting a speed down, making sure that obviously you're taking way more turns than her. Having some turn meter reduction is going to be very helpful, which is why I like Lorn. He does some AoE damage if I need it, and then he also does this turn meter reduction. And another great character to pair up if you don't have the likes of Hecaton or whatever. Like, honestly, my Tholen didn't even get to take a turn yet. He would normally be my main AoE nuker when it comes to getting the clones down, right? So you want to set up a defense down on the clones, and then you want to set up a big AoE attack. You could replace, say, even Hecaton with someone like Coldheart, and that would give you an extra turn meter reduction as well, right? So making sure that the characters are almost like, not indefinitely, but definitely getting controlled with turn meter down and also with speed down as well. Now I have attack, probably going to kill, yeah, it does a lot of damage, right? So I can stick this back on auto, and then I want to break down the roles that each have, and also characters that you should avoid using, because there's actually quite a few characters that you, there it goes, dead. Characters that you should avoid using. Okay, so let's break this down. What characters should you have? Well, here in my Esther Dreamsong slot, and actually you could have in the leader slot as well, you're going to want somebody that is basically, ideally somebody that has a speed up all battles aura. Now, if you don't have a ton of characters available, you could use the likes of, like I said, Deacon Armstrong. Where's my Deacon? Right? Because he's got a 19% speed aura in all battles. Actually, he is very good in Dark Fae because he reduces the, increases the turn meter of your side, but also decreases the turn meter of the enemy side. And he also puts out a defense down as well, right? All of those things that I was just talking about with Ugo, but Esther Dreamsong and the Ugo combination is obviously really good. But if you're relying on epics, Deacon Armstrong would be a very good one. It doesn't necessarily have to be him either, right? You could always use like Arbiter in this slot as well, depending on what you have unlocked available to you. Now, keep in mind, her speed up does not work, so you would have to, like, you know, use somebody else with a speed up aura. But as far as the speed lead goes, if you have a fast Arbiter, and then you knock up everyone's turn meter, then all of your other characters hopefully will go before one of the clones go, and then therefore you can set that up. Now you want a debuffer that can ideally do a combination of, maybe not necessarily both, but, you know, someone like Ugo who puts down a defense down AoE, and that's going to set up one of your nukers. I like to have two nukers, so that's why I have Lorn, but Lorn like has an AoE nuke with a turn meter rewind. So again, you could do something like, say, because I do have a built-up Coldheart, right? You could just do that over there, and then you have two characters that have basically a turn meter knockback, and that's going to be very helpful in almost making sure that Dark Fate doesn't even take a turn. Now, some other good buffs, of course, that you could have would be something like a speed down. So depending on what you have available to you in your roster, right, you can go into your debuffs, you could search for it's this one, right? You want the 30%. So I have a couple of characters, but obviously my best one is going to be Esther Dreamsong, but I also have like Lysanthe or Beastbane, some other epics that you could have. You could have Neldor Rhymeblade. Actually, he's really good at controlling enemy waves, including clones and things like this as well, with freeze, but also his all of his debuffs that he has. You might have Fenix. Fenix can do a bunch of different debuffs as well. He hits really hard single target, but he's got an AoE nuke as well. So I would just kind of filter through your roster, see who you have anyways that could possibly land a slow. And the better the character is, right? The more likely that you should probably include that character. High Katoon. Also, actually, as a speed lead character, this would be very good as well. because High Katoon actually does a lot of the things that you need. So High Katoon puts out now it's only single target, but this would still allow you to put this out on the Dark Fate boss as well. Has a speed up, so that's important too. Not only slowing the boss, but speeding up yourself. Some turn meter boost, things like that. So making sure that High Katoon is the fastest character on your team will get you to a Dark Fate win even faster. And there's also, we have a little bit of a turn meter reduction as well, but it's like only a 75% chance with books. So not the best character, but depending on how desperate you are for building your team, this would be something that I would look at. So basically you want to have a speed lead, whether it's High Katoon, whether it's Deacon Armstrong, whoever the hell you have, maybe even two. You could have two actually if you want, if you have a strong enough sort of nuker capacity. I would try to do two different characters with turn meter rewind. If you don't have that, one is fine too. And then making sure that you have somebody that can, and the speed is important, right? Unfortunately, you need to make sure that the speed of your characters is in the order that you want it to be. So speed lead first, and then second, an Ugo type who is going to debuff the enemies on the other side, and then you go with your nukers. So your nukers want to be basically last or in the back of the pack after everyone else has already buffed and debuffed. Then you get your nukers to go in and slam all the clones, and then you go into basically taking out Dark Fate. Now, as you're building a team, there's a couple of characters that I really, really, really want to kind of stress that you don't want to use. There are specific characters, that are going to make it harder for you than others, which is basically things, usually it comes in characters' passives, to be perfectly honest. Another great character, but by the time, if you still have a free Alice, you probably don't need my help to clear Dark Fate because you've probably been playing for about over a year. But she would also act as a really great AoE nuker because she has cooldown, like Fabian and crap like that. So like that's also a really good thing to have as well in case the clones still survive, that they can't actually use any of their skills. Lockout champions, that's kind of what I meant to say. Although, by and large, I probably would stay away from Fabian, just because if you're not able to nuke him down, him as a clone would be a real pain in the ass. So you have to think about these characters as clones as well. So characters like Michelangelo, he can evade, he can dodge and put out other crap like that, and there's a lot of RNG involved in getting him killed. Could be a problem. Other characters you don't want to include, going to be Predator, right? Don't include Predator because he can evade for the same reason that Michelangelo can. This would be a massive pain in the ass when you're fighting as a clone because the passives are going to kick in and cause problems for you. There are some other characters that also, right? Any character that has a real pain in the ass passive. Donatello has a fatal save, right? Don't use that because otherwise when you try to kill, you can still probably do this, but his passive is going to try to save somebody from death, which means that you're going to have to kill them again with somebody else. So an AoE nuker is not going to wipe everyone out entirely, right? Pelops the Victor, for example, has an interesting passive, so he can petrify people when you get hit, something you might want to avoid, right? There's a bunch of these things that could be problematic for your team. Now, as far as epics go, there's definitely a couple that I want to point out. Geomancer, for example, his passive, yes, he's a great character. Also, he has turn meter rewind, but his passive basically mitigates 15% of all incoming damage to the team. It's down here. Actually, 30, no, sorry. Receive 15%? Yeah. Then deflects damage onto each enemy under. So I guess it depends on if they're burned or not, right? But in general, I probably would not do this, right? And there's some other characters as well, like Tagore. A lot of people love Tagore, and he's even in my promo link, but he does have a passive that says, well, decrease the damage received by allies with 50% HP or less by 10%. So all these characters that are basically going to have high HP and also have passives that can mitigate damage. Also, if you build your characters with high hit points, this might be problematic because if you have 80,000 hit points on your character, the clone is also going to have 80,000 hit points, which I hope you have a very good nuker. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to kill. So, ideally, you're using characters that have lower HP, aka glass cannons, but they don't necessarily have to be that way. Just make sure that the characters that you are using does not have a shit ton of hit points, so you struggle to actually get them down. Okay? That is the main thing. You want to be able to AoE with them, one or two characters, right? Your AoE nukers that can actually clear the entire wave when that happens. Now, the second thing that you want to be aware of, and I'm going to try and run this again here and run this very slowly. I'm going to see if I can avoid actually killing it so much once we get to the boss is that if you're not able to do that, or depending on how slow you kill the boss, I know not everyone's going to kill the boss within one turn like I did here on the previous attempt. This doesn't happen for me, by the way, at like 120, but on 40 and 80, yeah, my damage is pretty high. What happens, though, you'll see this once we get to the boss, is that the possibility is that she steals your highest damage character, and this can be a problem. And I'm going to hope to see whether or not we can swing this here. I'm just going to use basics, actually, to try and get that to happen. But when you kill somebody on the opposing team, once you kill some of your clones, her other skill, which is, I believe it's this one. Yeah, Dark Abduction, banishes one enemy champion and spawns a mirror copy of them. And then True Fear on all enemies for one turn. Okay, so that's pretty important. I'm going to do the same thing as before, but I'm going to try not to downright kill her. Maybe I might just, just do normal attacks, perhaps. I don't want to kill her. So I'm going to wait and show you how this happens here. All right, we're just going to use our basic attack. And she should take one of my characters. It's probably going to be Hecaton. All right, once she takes her turn. Once she takes her turn. There we go. She grabbed Tholen. Okay, so she grabbed Tholen. The problem that can become here, obviously, depending on how you set up your team, is that you want to make sure you have at least 2 nukers. Why? Because then you're going to need to use your other nuker in order to kill the character that she cloned. The good thing is that clone starts at 0% turn meter, so it has to get like a full amount of turn worth of turn meter, and if you already have a speed up, you should kind of like overcome them a little bit, but then you're forced to kill them, right? And in this case, depending on who you have available to you, it can be more difficult. Now, once you kill them, it becomes pretty easy because then you get the clone, or then you get your character back, and then you can do the same thing again. But that's just something to watch out for, is why you can't really crutch on just a single DPS nuker. You're going to want to have at least 2. In this case, I actually have 3. But yeah, you want to have at least 2 of them, and then kind of have some support characters there that put some debuffs down and also speed increase your team. I really hope that some of this was helpful in building your team for Dark Fate. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And of course, if you're struggling still, feel free to reach out to me on Discord and I can suggest something for you. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Now, before I go, I do want to remind people that if you haven't started playing Raid yet, get out from under that rock. Download using the QR code in the top right hand of the screen. Get King Galkabar, get Venomage, get Tagore, get Farrakhan the Fat. Maybe don't use Tagore necessarily in Dark Fae. Also, don't forget about Pelops the Victor by using the promo code SUPERVICTORY within the first 48 hours of a brand new account. That's it for me, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.